There's a quiet pressure in the world today, a pressure that doesn't shout, but whispers. Wake up earlier, do more, be more disciplined, be more perfect. You've seen it. The 3 a.m. alarms, the ice baths, the endless grind before the sun even touches the sky. And for a moment, it inspires you. You think, maybe this is what I'm missing. So you try. You follow the routine. You push yourself harder than before. You mimic the structure down to the smallest detail. And for a few days, maybe even a few weeks, you feel powerful, in control, like you finally figured it out. But then something happens. You get tired. You miss a day, then another. And suddenly, that feeling of control turns into guilt, then doubt. Then a quiet voice in your head asks, why can't I stay consistent? But what if the real question isn't about your consistency? What if the real question is, why are you doing any of this in the first place? My name is Grandpa T, and I like to think of these moments as conversations under a tree. No rush, no pressure, just truth, passed from one soul to another. I've lived long enough to see patterns repeat themselves, different faces, same struggles, and one of the biggest illusions I've seen in this modern world is this, that success comes from copying routines. But I'm here to tell you something simple and maybe a little uncomfortable. You don't need a routine. You need a goal. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man who woke up every morning before the sun. He ran miles before breakfast. He trained his body until it ached. He worked longer than anyone around him. From the outside, he looked unstoppable, disciplined, successful. But if you asked him a simple question, why are you doing all of this? He wouldn't have a clear answer. He just knew he had to keep going because stopping felt like failure. Now let me ask you, is that success? Or is that just well-disguised confusion? You see, modern productivity has become a performance. People aren't just working anymore. They're displaying their work, filming it, posting it, packaging it, turning routines into something that looks like a formula. Do this, and you'll become me. But life doesn't work that way, because what they're showing you is not the foundation, it's the surface. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you're holding a hammer, a strong, well-crafted hammer, and every day you wake up excited to use it. You swing it. You practice with it. You even compare your technique to others. But here's the problem. There's nothing being built, no blueprint, no structure, no vision, just endless swinging. That's what a routine without a goal looks like. Effort without direction, movement without meaning, and here's the dangerous part. It feels productive, which makes it harder to question, because you're busy, you're doing something, but deep down, something feels off. That quiet feeling, that's your mind asking, where is this all leading? Let's be honest for a moment. The routines you see online, they're not lies, but they're not complete truths either. They're pieces of someone else's life, edited, filtered, presented without context. What you don't see is their personality, their responsibilities, their mental state, their long-term vision. You're only copying the actions, but you don't have the reason behind them. And without that reason, those actions become heavy, like carrying a weight you don't understand. It's like wearing someone else's armor into a battle you're fighting. It might look strong, but it slows you down, and eventually you take it off. Not because you're weak, but because it was never meant for you. Let's return to something simpler. A ship in the ocean. Your routine is the engine. Your goal is the compass. Now think about this carefully. If a ship has a powerful engine but no compass, it will move fast, but it won't arrive anywhere meaningful. It will burn fuel, drift, circle, and eventually run out. But a ship with a clear compass, even if it moves slowly, every wave carries it closer to its destination. That's the difference a goal makes. It gives your effort direction. It gives your routine meaning. And most importantly, it gives you a reason to continue when everything in you wants to stop. Let me pause here for a moment. If this is resonating with you, if something is clicking in your mind right now, take a second to like this video and subscribe, not because you have to, but because we're building something here. A space where we don't just chase productivity, we understand it. And I want to hear from you. In the comments, tell me, what is one goal you've been avoiding defining clearly? Sometimes clarity is uncomfortable, but it's also where everything begins. Now let's talk about what actually works. Instead of starting with a routine, start with a question. What kind of life do I truly want? Not the life that looks impressive, not the life that gets approval, but the life that feels right, because your goal is not just an outcome, it's a direction, a philosophy, a way of living. And once that becomes clear, your routine starts to build itself. If your goal is growth, your routine will include learning. If your goal is strength, your routine will include training. If your goal is peace, your routine will include stillness. And here's the key. It won't feel forced because it aligns with something deeper. Let me tell you something that no one likes to admit. You will break your routine, not once, not twice, but many times. You'll have days where you feel nothing, days where everything feels heavy, days where even the simplest task feels impossible. And in those moments, your routine will not save you, because routines are fragile. They depend on energy, mood, circumstances. But a meaningful goal, that's different. A goal rooted in something real, something personal, that stays with you, even when everything else falls apart. So when you stumble, you don't fall into shame. You return to your direction. You remind yourself, this is bigger than how I feel today. And that's what keeps you moving, not perfection, but purpose. People talk about discipline like it's this hard, cold force, something you have to fight for every day. But real discipline, the kind that lasts, is quiet. It doesn't scream. It doesn't punish. It simply aligns. When your actions match your goal, discipline becomes natural. Not easy, but natural. Like a river flowing downhill, it still faces rocks. It still changes course, but it keeps moving because it knows where it's going. Most people today are frustrated, not because they're doing too little, but because they're doing too much, without knowing why. They're running on treadmills, chasing routines, trying to become someone they don't fully understand, and in the process, they lose themselves. Don't let that be you. Pause, step back, and ask yourself the simplest, most powerful question. What am I actually trying to build? Because once you have that answer, everything changes. Your routine becomes lighter. Your effort becomes focused. Your setbacks become lessons, not failures. And life stops feeling like a race and starts feeling like a journey. This has been Grandpa T, sitting with you for a moment in a very noisy world. And if there's one thing I hope you carry with you, it's this. You don't need to wake up at 3 a.m. to prove your worth. You don't need to suffer just to feel productive. You don't need to copy someone else's path. All you need is a goal that is truly yours and the patience to build your life around it.